Everybody for joining us for today's Board of Trustees meeting on May 8th. Today we have a special presentation, though, before the pledge.
Tonight, well, first, thanks for having us for our award tonight. Tonight, our honor guard will present the colors for the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could, afterwards, please stay standing for a moment of silence as we recognize.
See, I knew I would, so I asked you to.
Gary Davis. Saturday will be 19 years. So, but thank you.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday.
My son had just had an incident with an officer, Davis, and I thought it was him, but there were two of them. Broke me when I heard it. I was like, I just met the guy.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand, we're supposed to stay standing. I forgot.
Thank you.
Creatures of habit.
Thank you to our honor guard. Yeah, that doesn't get any easier. Gary was an amazing friend. All right, so next we have public comment. If anybody would like to come on up, just state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Tough act to follow.
Yeah.
My name is Jan Sigler, and I live in the subdivision of Kirkwood, which is between Walnut Lake, Corton, Inkster, and Franklin. The safety paths are on the other side of Walnut Lake and Corton from where Kirkwood is located. After reading the article, safety paths proved to be great assets to residents in the fall 2022 edition of the Township newsletter. I wrote an email to the Township. I pointed out that Kirkwood has 3 entrances, 2 onto Walnut Lake Road and 1 onto Corton, and they're very difficult for us sometimes to access because of the traffic. There is no safe path to the safety paths for the residents of Kirkwood. I am asking for pedestrian crosswalks and signs from Kirkwood. Kirkwood improved its streets. It resurfaced them 2 years ago, and it's a popular destination for people from even other subdivisions who often have to cross either Corton or Walnut Lake to access our streets, to walk, to bicycle, or to walk their dogs. They have to cross Corton and Walnut Lake often to access our streets. I would like to be able to walk to Market Square, my local supermarket, which is on Walnut Lake, east of Inkster. But it's very difficult for me sometimes to get across Walnut Lake. In carrying groceries, it might be treacherous. There is already a pedestrian crosswalk for me to cross Inkster. I would also like to be able to access Walnut Lake, to walk around the lake on Putnam, or to access Sub 3. But to do that, I have to run across Corton. Certain times of the day, it is very difficult. There is already a crosswalk there, also across Inkster. Without pedestrian crosswalks to the safety paths, many of us do not have a safe way to use them. I'm here to ask the trustees to instigate the process to provide crosswalks and signages at 3 locations: Raven Road and Walnut Lake, Sutter's Lane and Walnut Lake, and Kings Mill and Corton. It's my understanding that you have been already forwarded a copy of the email that I wrote September 17th, 2022, requesting the crosswalks. I stopped by the clerk's office last week and the Department of Public Works, where none of the engineers were available for me to speak to about the process for doing this. I left a message for Charles Marcus, but have not heard back from him yet. I understand from some of the feedback I received to my email that the county master plan would have to be amended in order for me to have the 3 crosswalks and the signage that I'm requesting. I'd be happy to help in any way possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Mark Intockley. I am a Precinct 3 delegate in Bloomfield Township. My public comment today is about item number 6, consider the approval to transfer and commit up to $6 million to the Equipment and Replacement Fund. One of the things I noticed in last week's board packet, they had quarterly numbers. And the quarterly numbers for police and for public safety, including police and fire, showed about a $7.5 million deficit. The board approved earlier this year about a $10 million transfer. And I would like to understand why that $10 million transfer would not occur, especially considering the unjust treatment of our public safety and our policemen and firemen with regards to the OPEB funding. A few years ago, the township on the Norman report showed that the town fund, fire fund, police fund, and the April 2020 actuarial evaluation, all 3 funds were at 7.3%. Yet after the funds were separated out, we show a different story in April of 2022. Police and fire are both funded at 9.6%, while town is funded at 27.3%. This disparity is unjust. I don't think our police officers or our fire department should be treated this way. I think the full amount of the fund should be transferred to public safety, and additional commitments to their OPEB funding should be made. It's unfair to treat these men and women serving our community, protecting us in this manner. I'd also like to state that Jason, who is going to present, is also the chair of the OPEB committee. Ask him, why did he make those recommendations? Why did he make recommendations in the budget that were unjust and unfair to our police department and our members of the fire department? It's a shame that this is happening in our community, and it's a shame that I have to bring this up today, but I think it's the truth, and it's in the documents that are there and that are given to us. I made a similar public comment during the financial board reviews. When you go into those details, the information on the meeting minutes is not included either, for either the pension or the OPEB requirements. Where's the money? The treasurer is supposed to be following the money. What are those liabilities, and why did we treat them unjustly? Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay. Then we'll go ahead and close public comment. And we'll bring it to the police promotions and awards night. So we have, oh, sorry, approving the minutes. Sorry, I mentioned minutes and it threw me off. We've all had a chance to look at the minutes unless there's any changes or
Motion to approve?
motion by trustee Murray.
Support.
Support by trustee Faki. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Thanks, Jimmy.
Hello again. All right. We're going to do a couple promotions tonight and then our awards. So again, we want to thank you for this opportunity. We try to do this on National Police Week. Next week is actually National Police Week. It starts on Saturday. But This is the board meeting that precedes it, so we'll do it tonight. First, we failed to do a little earlier in the year. We forgot to introduce our new animal welfare, who we hired on October 31st, 2022, and Chris Bowman. Mr. Bowman, come on up. So if anybody hasn't had the chance to meet Chris, I'm sure they will. We are very fortunate to have Chris join our organization. Chris joins us from the Detroit Fire Department, where he spent 25 years retiring as a rank of sergeant. And he told everybody there and some afterwards that his retirement job was going to be a dog catcher. So we fulfilled his dream. He did a little bit of job searching afterwards. He meddled in the dispatch world for a little while, realized some of those places are just a little too high. That was taking him back to his fireman days there. So we had a dog catcher job come up, as we like to call it, animal welfare officer, but he liked the dog catcher's frame. So he comes with us with some nicknames. We'll leave that for another time and another story for all of you to there. But we do have some of our guys here who are not afraid to reach out to some of the firemen in Detroit and find out the real meaning behind some of those things. But Chris was hired on October 31st. He served in the United States Coast Guard from 91 to 95 and was honorably discharged. So thank you for your service. He has 3 children, Nick, Grace, who just graduated this weekend from Central Michigan, and then his son Andrew, who just hired on as a Detroit fireman, following in the footsteps. And I know we've already talked to him, like, get a couple years on, come see us. So one of the biggest draws that Chris said he missed when he left Detroit was that family feel. And so we brought him on, and I think we brought you back into the family feel, and he's having a blast. If you want somebody that's in a good mood every day that can lighten a room, call Chris. He'll come upstairs and have a conversation with you, and I promise it'll be interesting. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Truly is an entertaining conversation every time.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Officer McGraw, come on up. Hi, Kelly. Hi. Well, Kelly McGraw is being promoted from officer to detective effective May 29th. Kelly is our current school liaison officer. You've been in that position, about 2 years-ish? Just a year and a half. So as we see in our department, and all of you know, we're going through a transition in our department, and we're losing a lot of knowledge and experience, but we're filling it with some people who are really, really willing to learn and to grow our agency further. Kelly was born in the UP and was raised in Drafter, Michigan. Yeah. Dafter? It's Drafter, same thing. Anybody else know where that's at?
Right there.
Making friends,
All
Jimmy,
right.
making friends.
She attended Rudyard High School in the home of the Bulldogs, where she graduated in 1997. She attended Lake Superior State University and graduated with a degree in criminal justice and with a minor in Spanish and social work. Yeah. In the fall of '02, she attended the Michigan Police Corps, which is no longer in existence, but it was at that time funded to hire police officers into agency, and it was through Ferris State. There, she met her husband Scott, who is the current deputy chief of Auburn Hills Police Department. They have 2 daughters, Patience and Madeline, who are here. She hired on as Alpena officer first. She spent about 4 years there, where she worked with the narcotics unit, so she's kind of done a vast array of jobs. She retired by us in November of 2006. She currently, as I said, serves as our school liaison officer. She's one of our ID techs, one of our defensive tactic instructors, one of our rape and aggression and defense, RAD is what we call it, assistant instructors for our civilians. Her and Marissa, as you hear soon, they both do a lot of that program and training for our residents and high school students. In her free time, she likes to run. Okay. She's completed 2 marathons, 1 triathlon, and 1 sprint triathlon. So she's very well involved in many things in our agency, and we are very proud to promote her to detective on May 29th. So congratulations.
Yep, just right there so we can hear you. Great, congratulations, and repeat after me, please.
I, Kelly McGraw,
I, Kelly McGraw,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
and I will support the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
I will support the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties as detective
and I will faithfully discharge my duties as a detective
for the Charter Township of Bloomfield Police Department
for the Charter Township of Bloomfield Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Marissa, come on up. Marissa also, she's our school security officer for the last year and a half, 2 years. And she is also being promoted to detective effective May 29th, and that is to replace Detective Hustis and Detective Donberger, who are retiring at the end of this month. Again, very hard experience to replace. Mentors to a lot of us in this agency, so we appreciate their time, and they're going to stay and help, and their phones will always be on because we'll be calling them for quite some time. But Marissa was born in El Paso, Texas, and grew up in Van Horn, Texas, where she graduated from Van Horn High School. She graduated from U of M, Flint, with a bachelor's degree in political science. Right? It was Ann Arbor? I didn't write that. Ann Arbor. She was down in Ann Arbor. Don't worry, Joe, you're coming. Joe's mad at me because I told her she's being promoted when he bought her a birthday gift. Anyway, while she was there, she was a member of a sorority. Marissa was a member of the El Paso Police Department for 2 years? Yes. Okay. Prior to being hired by us. She's been with us for about 16 years, so her and Kelly hired on almost with each other. She currently serves as our school security officer, and she's also a RAD instructor and one of our lead evidence technicians, who she might not know it yet, but as she transitions, she's going to be much more involved in our evidence tech processes again. She's married to her husband, Joe. Joe is a K-9 officer for the Township of West Bloomfield. They have three children, and they're all here. Talia, Taylor, and their son Tyler. Joe and Marissa have their own foundation they created with the Crosshairs Foundation. The foundation seeks to assist society in areas of education, cancer awareness, disadvantaged children, domestic violence, and public safety. They're also very much involved in the Pat Our Work Foundation as well. Marissa also has completed a marathon. And is very active with many of our defensive tactics stuff as well. So we are very proud to promote you as well to the rank of detective.
Okay. Please repeat after me. I, Marissa Miller,
I, Marissa Miller,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
and I will support the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and I will support the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and I will faithfully discharge my duties as detective
and I will faithfully discharge my duties as detective
for the Charter Township of Bloomfield Police Department
for the Charter Township of Bloomfield Township Police Department
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. That's done on the internal stuff for promotions. We've been doing this a lot lately. There'll probably be more to come soon. On to our awards. Is Catherine McMurray here? No? I'll read it. It's a Distinguished Citizen Award. Ms. McMurray is an employee at Lowe's and witnessed a customer attempting to purchase a large amount of gift cards. Ms. McMurray recognized this might be a scam and began a conversation with the customer, who identified herself as one of our residents. Once she attained some more further information, she advised our resident that she may be falling victim to fraud and to contact the police department for clarification. Because of Ms. McMurray's keen observation and willingness to check on a fellow citizen, she was able to deter our resident from being victimized by a scam. For this, we are recognizing her as an exemplary citizen of Bloomfield Township, and that our resident was being scammed and taking multiple trips to different stores during that time to get gift cards to send to the scammers.
Wow.
Nick Soley, come on up. Tonight, Officer Soley's receiving a letter of recognition. On October 17th, 2022, Detective Oganka was assigned a case involving a golf cart that was stolen from Oakland Hills Country Club. During this investigation, a stolen electric shopping cart was also discovered prior to the golf cart being stolen. A conversation with Officer Soley uncovered a photograph he had taken of a suspicious suspect riding the electric shopping cart down a busy main road in the township. Nick was actually leaving the station, and right out in front in the turnaround, our emergency crossing turnaround, there was a subject on the motorized crossing guard, or on the cart. While looking at the photo, we observed a bag that resembled what appeared to be a hospital bag that your property would be stored in when you were at a hospital. We began searching the area hospitals and eventually located the suspect, retrieving a full confession and locating the stolen golf cart from Oakland Hills behind the YMCA and a credit union in Birmingham. Because of Officer Soley's keen eye and investigative instincts, he was able to provide the one piece of evidence that Detective Oganka used to solve the case. And I literally had a picture from Oakland Hills on my phone, and I showed Nick, and he said, "I know that guy." And I said, "No, you don't." And he said, "No, I know the guy," and showed me the picture, and they were one and the same. And therefore, we were able to recover the stolen golf cart. So, Nick?
Thank you.
Elliot Wilson and Bob Zaremba. Bob out. Officer Wilson and Officer Zaremba are receiving a letter of recognition. Both of them are trained in our Stop the Bleed, and they are our casualty care instructors for the agency. And anybody that knows Officer Wilson, we call him MacGyver around our station, as he can fix anything and repair anything, and also a few years ago helped save somebody's life, I think, while they were hunting, and actually stitch up somebody while they were hunting after they cut themselves. Anyways, these two officers, Wilson and Zaremba, they investigated the cost of new trauma packs. We wear trauma packs in all our vests, in case one of us were to get injured. They researched the costs and were able to add more items to the packs, making them more beneficial, while saving the department roughly $8,500 altogether. A lot of this time was spent on their own time securing their airtight packs, which took several days and hours to accomplish. Because of the dedication and resourcefulness of these two officers, the department now has a high-quality trauma pack in order to better serve the community and protect ourselves. Nice job, Alex. Chris Salamano, Detective Waganka, and retired Detective Moschel. You'll hear Detective Waganka's name a lot tonight. Not sure who he paid. On October 6th of last year, Officer Salamano took a larceny report of a Kubota skid steers valued at about $72,000 from a construction site off Franklin Road. The skid steer had been taken overnight, and the reporting party advised it was equipped with a GPS tracking system on it. Officer Salamano took all the relevant information, but he didn't stop there. He continued to investigate and search to locate the stolen property. Once he determined that its location was in the city of Detroit, he notified his supervisor and requested additional help. Detectives Moschel and Detective Waganka agreed to travel to the address in Detroit, and not only did they locate the stolen skid steer, but two other pieces of stolen construction equipment, with a total for all three valued at over $150,000. Due to the exceptional level of service and efforts from those listed, the victim was able to obtain his property the very next day, and leads into the suspect involved in the case are ongoing, but we were able to identify an area of where there's stolen a lot of stolen information and equipment. So they get an honorable mention. Detective Waganka, stay here.
Okay.
This one happened in January of this year, but we feel it's important to award it in our current year. On January 28th, 2023, Detective Waganka was dining with his family at a restaurant in New Hudson when he learned of another patron became unresponsive. Detective Waganka immediately went over to offer his assistance and found that the subject was not breathing and had no pulse. There was another patron there that was a nurse, and Detective Waganka began life-saving efforts by performing chest compressions and rescue breaths until the subject regained consciousness. The swift response by Detective Waganka was instrumental in saving this man's life. And I did get a text that night from his wife. So, Chris? Because we know he would have never told anybody. Oh, wait, Chris. Don't go anywhere. No. You want to actually take over? Yeah. So this one's going to go back. I'll just reiterate the case. Chris is also receiving an award for the golf cart case. That happened on August 17th. And it just happened to be a day that, I shouldn't probably say this stuff, but there was a lot of police chiefs that were invited to golf at Oakland Hills the day this golf cart was stolen. We were on the golf course when this, so we made sure that this golf cart was recovered. But again, Chris was able to help, with Officer Soley's help, was able to determine a suspect. Chris searched all the area hospitals by driving to them. When he got to, was it McLaren? Yeah, in McLaren Hospital, he showed a picture of the gentleman that was there and the suspect, and he said, any chance that you guys released this subject yesterday? We had a golf cart stolen, and I believe, if I have it right, they said to him, no, he's in hallway 5. So Chris went down to hallway 5 and found the individual there, who then gave a full confession of why he stole a golf cart. And the subject had been in a mental health crisis and was transported by Birmingham really late that evening. So his intent was not to deprive, he just wanted to ride closer to home. So, but we were able to recover that. So for that, Chris will get a Meritorious Service Award. For now? Hey, just have a seat, but stay close. Dispatcher Amela Bader. Amela is also receiving a Meritorious Service Award, and congratulations to her and her husband, who just had a baby not too long ago. What, 2 months? 3 months? 10 weeks tomorrow. 10 weeks tomorrow, so yeah. So. On January 23rd, 2022, Dispatcher Bader received a call from a distraught male who was making suicidal statements. The caller refuses to give his name or his location. Dispatcher Bader kept the caller on the line and by using her empathetic approach was able to convince him to come into our station for help. Dispatcher Bader showed diligence, dedication as she faced this difficult situation, ultimately leading in saving the man's life or potentially saving his life. Your knowledge and ability to perform your job under high levels of stress was exemplary and demonstrated the highest level of professionalism. And I think I talked the last time it was Dispatchers Week that week, but our dispatchers do a lot more than just answer a phone and put it in the system. They're professionals at what they do, and every day they save lives. So, congratulations. The next one is, I think, half the room. I don't know if we want them all to come up and line up in front, but there's going to be a lot of them. Okay. Dispatcher Cassandra Diamond, Dispatcher Christy Paquin, Detective Moschel, Sergeant Sparks, Detective Waganka, Detective Donberger, Detective Hustis, Detective Van Kerkhoff, Officer Newsom, I don't believe, oh, you're here. And then Officer Monty is not here. Because all these are members of our agency, they are receiving a unit commendation, but I'm also going to call up the Troy officers. I'm going to name everybody. I don't remember who's all here, so I'm going to name off all of them, but if you guys can come up as well. Officer Kramer, Officer Sabanovsky, Officer Smith, Sergeant Lamilza, Officer Logan Barger, is that right? Joe Morgan's not here. Officer Hunter, Officer Daniels, and Officer Vernier. They are receiving an honorable mention from our department. This all occurred on September 19th, 2022 at approximately 11:22 a.m. Dispatcher Diamond received a call from a resident who was out of the country and could see subjects at her Ring camera at her front door and in her backyard. They're at both doors, at her residence located on Harrow Circle. Dispatcher Diamond quickly entered the information and sent the call over to Dispatcher Paquin. They sit close together, so a lot of times our dispatchers will know kind of what's going on based on the tone of voices on the call. They immediately put the call out as a possible home invasion in progress. They both continued to gather and broadcast crucial information to all responding officers and continued services until the completion of the incident. Sergeant Sparks was in the investigations division at that time, just happened to be going over to Somerset Mall to pick up evidence on an unrelated case and interview somebody when he was right at Woodward and Big Beaver, which is right where Harrow Circle is located. He responded to the area. As he did so, he was able to witness a home invasion in progress. The subjects, I believe, broke out a back window of the residence. He monitored that area, I believe became in a foot pursuit with one of the subjects. They had a getaway car just down the road that was occupied. That individual saw Sergeant Sparks and most likely alerted the people to leave the residence. Officer Newsom got into the area, and as he was entering the subdivision, the subjects came fleeing out of the subdivision in a van. Officer Newsom began a pursuit of that vehicle. Due to the dangers of the pursuit and going the wrong way down under bridges, he decided to terminate that pursuit. Troy Police Officer and SIU Officer Joe Morgan happened to be in the area. He seems to be a guy that's always in the right place at the right time. He picked up on the vehicle, and that's where Troy Police became involved. They then initiated a secondary pursuit. They were able to get the subject into an industrial area where they were able to use their methods to end this pursuit and take everybody into custody. They did a nice job. We responded to the scene. We took everybody into custody. I believe there was 3 individuals in the vehicle, along with a 2-year-old child, unrestrained, and luckily there was no major injuries there. These individuals were involved in a crime spree across, we believe, the United States. I believe they came from Colorado, if I remember it correctly, and were responsible for at least 2 to 3 home invasions or attempt home invasions in Bloomfield Township, also the city of Bloomfield Hills, and we believe outside the state. Multiple guns, I believe, were recovered from the vehicle when Troy stopped it. Those guns, I believe, one was stolen for sure, and so this was a case that it's a prime example of that when it affects one community, it affects all the communities. And because of our partnerships with Troy Police Department, we feel it's important to honor them as well as our own individuals for a case that really we recovered almost all the property, I believe, or a lot of the property for our residents. So congratulations to all of you. Yeah, can we be done? Hey, thanks for coming. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming. Nice job. Yeah, no problem. Good job. Is Carrie here? Carrie Lazat from our cable studio? Carrie, come on up for a minute. Hi, Carrie. Welcome. And I like that a lot of your team is here tonight. This is a surprise to Carrie. On behalf of the police department, we would like to present the cable studio with an award for their efforts in partnership with our recruiting team. Carrie was hired about a year ago now? Was it a little over a year, maybe? About a year ago. And she came with a plan. And when Carrie comes with a plan, you listen. So Carrie and her staff jumped at the opportunity to assist us in whatever capacity they could. One of the things that Danny and the board talked about, and the interview panel talked about when Carrie was hired, was that we were going to go through a transition in the police department, that we were going to need to hire a lot of people, up to 11 this year. We're at 5. Anybody knows anybody that wants to be a police officer. Immediately, Carrie jumped at the opportunity to work with us. But she first wanted to understand who we were and what we were about in our police organization. So she did some ride-alongs with our officers on the night shift and was able to develop a relationship with some of these guys to see what we are about and why we feel our agency is so special. Her team then created videos depicting our culture, our professionalism, and our training. They made several videos with about 5 of our officers, and then they made a training video with us of our officers doing a felony stop. That video there itself has been viewed over 11,000 times. As she would call it, it's become a hit. It was nice for us as the agency to actually feel like we were in 2023 and not 1990 with some of our ads and things of that nature. So they really brought us up to speed on some things. Our most recent applicant, who's in our background phase, told us during the hiring phase that he was notified by his relative that we were hiring. He then started doing his research and came across the videos, and that's what made him apply in Bloomfield Township. He liked what the officers had to say. He liked it appeared what we do here. So we thank you and your team. I know not all of them are here for that and your partnership. Thank you. And she wrote like a whole page plan. I think we're almost 90% through it. On to our Civilian of the Year. Hillary Nussbaum, come on up. Our Civilian and Officer of the Year is picked by their peers in their agency. So the Officer and Civilian of the Year are nominated by the officers and the civilians. It then goes to a peer panel who then gets to pick the individuals, the top 3. They get to pick from the top 3. The only time that the administration becomes involved is if there's a tie, and we can try to help make that tiebreaker. But other than that, this is all a peer support panel, and I think that's what's really important about being recognized by your peers. It says sometimes a lot more than just from an administration overall. So our Civilian of the Year this year, who you guys have heard us talk a lot about, is Hillary Nussbaum, our co-responder social worker clinician, who we hired in August of 21. Hillary graduated from Berkeley High School. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Cornerstone University in psychology and family studies. She has her master's degree from Wayne State University in social work. She's a level 1 trauma certification from Michigan State and is a certified first responder counselor. That was not a requirement for our position. That just is what we found immediately, not even a month into her job, was going to be of value to our agencies. She came highly recommended to us after working with Rochester Public Schools and developing the relationships with the local law enforcement there. Now soon to retire Chief Schottenhelm from Rochester really recommended her to come to us. She is married to her wife Ashley, and they are new parents also to a 2-month-old Noella, who is 2 months, like I said, 2 months old this week, right? Yeah. Yeah, see? I'm keeping tabs. Yeah, well, I'd help. They are not here tonight because they're visiting Ashley's mom in Arizona. Hillary's been a great addition to our family in BTPD. She does serve all 4 agencies of Rochester, Auburn Hills, Birmingham, and us. We just hired our second clinician who starts next week. Her services have been invaluable. She's invaluable to our agency, and I think our guys and girls recognize that, and that's why after only a year and a half, she's our Civilian of the Year. If you want to introduce your family, that's your
Sure, yeah. Well, thank you very much for this. This is quite an honor, and I'm just beyond thrilled, so thank you. With me here today is my mom, Lori, and my stepdad, Pat, and then, of course, Trish. She's my boss at OCHN, so say nice things, please. And so thank you very much. I'm very honored. Appreciate this. So.
Nice job, Hillary. Officer Ed Ryan, come on up. Officer Ed Ryan was selected as the Officer of the Year. Big Ed, as I call him. That's a big guy. Ed grew up in the Upper Peninsula, the city of St. Ignace. I believe in the house that your dad built, overlooking Lake Michigan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, good. He graduated high school from Northern Michigan Christian Academy in Burt Lake, where he played basketball, baseball, and soccer. He earned his bachelor's degree in marketing from Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina in 2004. In 2007, he attended Oakland Police Academy. He's married to his wife, Kate, and they have 3 children. I'll let him introduce them all. He was hired on by us. He was hired on here on October 22nd, 2007. The difference between Ed and everybody else is that for almost 6.5 years, we didn't hire anybody else. Now guys can't stay on the bottom of the totem pole, but Ed stayed there and was on midnights, we apologize, for a long, long time. It was just in that downturn of the economy, and that's where he got stuck. So the lowest senior, I think that might be a record too, of the longest, yeah. He's been assigned to the Road Patrol Division for the majority of his career. He is one of our senior field training officers, so he's had his handprint on training many of the new people within our agency. And as we say before, our field training officers are a vital part of our agency on the development of the officers and their impression on this career. He is also a rifle and pistol instructor and an evidence technician. He is a member of our peer support team and a crisis intervention trained officer. I went through his awards, and normally I wouldn't list them all, but I think his are pretty impressive based on some of the things he did. So I'll say them quickly here. But in 2009, he got an honorable mention for talking down a suicidal subject who was going to jump from a second-story window with a cord wrapped around his neck. You didn't know CIT stuff back then as officially trained, but I believe it worked. As that they did talk him down, and the subject did not continue with the act. In 2014, he received a meritorious service for the coordination and communication that led to the arrest of a suspect involved in a breaking and entering of a business. In 2017, an honorable mention for his response and actions taken during the arrest of an armed home invasion suspects. In 2018, a unit commendation for his role in the recovery of a kidnapped child from Target. They recovered the child within 2 hours. It was a parental kidnapping type incident that was totally not expected, and the child was taken from Target. And then in 2019, he received a Meritorious Service Award for disarming a 19-year-old autistic subject who was threatening to kill everybody while armed with a knife. Ed is an informal leader in our agency, and we are very lucky to have him. He is somebody that we count on as an administration. I've had many conversations with him on mentoring and supporting our newer officers in the agency, and he doesn't bat an eye at it. He truly is a leader in our agency without rank, and that's sometimes more important than any rank can ever hold. So, Ed, because of your commitment and high level of professionalism that has consistently contributed to this department's ability to deliver the finest law enforcement service, we present you the 2022 Donald Zimmerman Officer of the Year Award.
Here with me tonight is my lovely wife, Katie, and my children, Adam, Maddie, and Luke. My parents, Ed and Donna Ryan, and my in-laws, Rob and Mary Ann Reese. My nephew, Liam, and my brother, Steve. So, thanks for coming.
And just, I forgot to tell Kate, but I was going through his background file today, and the proudest moment he wrote in there was meeting Kate.
Do you want a picture with all of the award recipients
I was about to say, that concludes our awards. Again, we thank you, and we are very honored to be able to lead this group of individuals and people, and the things that they do throughout the year is truly amazing. And many of it, we sometimes don't even see.
Yeah.
So, but yes, if we can do a picture, that would be great.
Yeah, and everybody can come on up here and file it. It'll probably be a couple rows, at least. See, y'all thought you were done.
It's always the best night.
Yeah, we can. I was just gonna wait till they all file up. guys want to stand up? You guys want to stand up behind them?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We are definitely truly lucky to have you. And it is a police night, so next we have Officer Soley up for the presentation of the Police Department Annual Report. And just to give a shout out that Nick, you did a great job this year. He got to create it. It looks kind of like a magazine. It looks really cool looking. And Nick took that on himself to learn a new program and make it look a lot nicer. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I will give Nick credit. Nick, our community relations officer, always is in charge of putting together the annual report. Nick came to me at the beginning of this year and said, "Look, it's 70 pages that people don't read. Can we narrow it down a little bit to the facts and and that's what we did." It was an interesting year for us. Obviously, the transition from Chief Langmeyer, who did so many wonderful things for our agency, to the transition to me becoming the chief. Learning the role, and developing the relationships around that we cherish. The relationship with the board. Nick's going to present the majority of the report as he knows it, and then we can answer any questions that you may have from us. Nick?
Thank you, Board. So as always, I've condensed this down quite a bit to get you some of the main facts, and then we'll link it. But as of now, the annual report is up on our website at bloomfieldtwp.org. If you go under Police and Transparency, not only is the annual report up, but we do have our use of force report up as well as our pursuit report for 2022. So as always, our mission with Bloomfield Township Police Department is to preserve the peace and protect our community with fairness, integrity, pride, and respect. 2022 was an interesting year for us. We handled 25,883 calls for service. A call for service is any call that our police respond to that comes in through our department. So that also includes traffic stops and things that are found on patrol. It's slightly down compared to our call volume in 2021, almost about 1,000 calls down, and we'll get into why when we get into the breakdown of calls themselves. As tradition, we continue service-oriented policing. Bloomfield Township prides themselves in being kind of the catch-all and the end for our residents. If our residents call Bloomfield Township and they need something and they've reached our police dispatch, we don't often say that's not our job or that's not something that we do. We find a way to handle it and get it done. And we also have a lot of services that we advertise. So we did 1,451 vacation house checks. That's our residents that are out of town. Maybe they're away for the winter. We go out to their house. Our officer physically gets out of their vehicle. They walk around the house. They check the windows. They check the doors to make sure that everything's going good. We don't often find things on these vacation house checks, but what I like to tell people is when I was on patrol, I did several house checks where you'd come across a pipe that was burst in the basement or something that just isn't right. A landscaper broke a window with a rock. So it's not always the bad guy breaking in. Sometimes we notice things that are just acts of nature. 281 vehicle lockouts. I don't know a whole lot of departments that still do vehicle lockouts, but if you're in our township and you're locked out of your car, we will come and get you in through our tools and mechanisms so you don't have to wait on a tow truck. And then 415 school security checks. It's important to note on our 415 school security checks, these are just our patrol officers assigned directly to patrol, getting out of their car, going into the schools, making connections with our students. This doesn't include all the times that our school officers are over there. They spend 99% of their time inside the schools. They don't punch a school check every time they're over there. These are our patrol officers, and that helps them get to know the layout of the school, the staff of the school, and just that communication and getting to know the students, especially the young ones. It's good for them to see officers in uniform and to know that we are friends. So when we talk about calls going down, we break our calls down into 3 categories. Your Part A, Part B, and Part C. Part A crimes are your most serious crimes. For example, that's your sexual assaults, your robbery, your stalking, high volume larcenies, home invasions. Then you get into your Part B crimes, your misdemeanors. They carry less than a year in prison if they were to be carried out and found guilty. That's more of your OWI, impaired driving, and your hit and run crashes. And then Part C is your relatively minor misdemeanors, but also your very common calls. Those are going to be our crashes if a ticket was issued, and anything else really that we go on. So when we saw the call volume come down, and the chief and I started looking at this to try and give an explanation, you can see that our calls for Part A crimes were slightly up, and the graph doesn't really do it justice, but what we concluded in looking at it is this has been a strange, I would say year, but a year and a half going into 2023 for Bloomfield Township. I don't think I've ever seen or written as many press releases for serious crimes as we've had. If you look at the breaking and enterings, all of the stolen vehicles from our township, all of the break-ins to our township. So what we're seeing is we're seeing some of our serious crime actually go up. And when I say serious, that doesn't always mean violent. They can still be property crimes, but we do see those crimes going on. And when we are dealing with, 38 stolen vehicles in 4 months, that takes patrols time away from being on the road. They're investigating that identification techs are out there sweeping for fingerprints and doing all that. That takes time away from when they would be conducting traffic stops and finding maybe your misdemeanor driving while license suspended. That usually does pad our stats in the Part C crimes. So again, in 2022, calls for service were decreased about 4.2%. It also resulted in 12 use of force incidents. All 12 use of force incidents were within our department policy, procedure, and the state law. It should be noted that of those calls for service, 947 resulted in arrests, and we had a total of 6,658 traffic stops. Those are all included in our calls for service. That's a lot of contact with individuals that are typically negative contacts. When you're arresting someone, they're typically not happy. When you pull people over, we do have a lot of friendly residents, but it's still not always the best time to interact with the police, we'll say, right? So you'll look at the graph there. We did have 12 in this last year in 2022, which is down just slightly from 13 in 2021. The most notable part of this is most recently our policy requires us to complete use of resistance forms whenever we point our service weapon at an individual. So this would be like that training video we talked about on a felony stop, or if you have a serious criminal that you are presenting a firearm at, that's considered a use of resistance or a use of force now. So that does bring in a few more incidents. If we omitted those, you'd see a few less. The full report is broken down on our website under our transparency page. That breaks everything down by age, gender, race, full transparency, what types of force were used, what hour of the day they were used, whether it was midnight shift or day shift, and that can all be found there. And then the fun part, community involvement. I'm biased, but I don't think any department does it better than Bloomfield Township. So, what did we do this year? We've got Skate with a Cop, our annual program. We get officers out skating with our community. That's a great one because we get to partner with Auburn Hills and Birmingham. We get officers from all over jurisdictions. Public comes out. They pay for normal open skate. There was some confusion this year. This is not a fundraiser. This is just for us to get out and, again, make a face with those students. If you look to the left of that, you'll see the chief over at Welcome Back to School Night getting dunked in the dunk tank. I think maybe that was Chief Leroy throwing the ball.
No, he actually pushed.
Yeah. But HOA meetings, we're out at our HOA meetings, we're out at our neighborhood picnics, we're out at Halloween handing out candy for parades. Some of the cool things we did this year was our Christmas with Bloomfield. So we help people that need a little help during Christmas. That's Bloomfield Police and Fire Charities. That's a big turnout, and it affects a lot of families in this township. Special Olympics, we continue our great relationship with Special Olympics, whether it be the torch run or whether it be polar plunge. We also have our officers out there at the games. They were out this past weekend. They did that in 2022, handing out medals and helping the athletes get through the competition. We started a babysitting class this year for our residents, our young residents, another way to interact with our community, get them in. We got teenagers, we had a full class. It's time that we're gonna run another one here, but we had 25 students who all left there certified in AED, CPR, and they loved it, and our phone continues to ring. The problem with that is it got a little too big, and outside communities wanted to get in, so we did give priority to the township. And then Maggie, we brought Maggie in a couple years ago. We're continuing to use her. We made it out to Michigan State for their tough time. So that's her brother Cooper and her brother Max. They are both her siblings. Chief Langmeyer wanted this program. He knew it would take off, and it did. They used our proposal to bring Maggie's brothers to their departments a year after we did. I could go on and on about the community events we did. I try and put them all on Facebook, but our hunger drive with Kroger. So if you want to get involved, reach out to me. We'll find a way. If you want us to get involved with your organization, reach out. We'll find a way. We're constantly doing meetings with the Boy Scouts in the schools. Again, to view the full annual published report, you can go onto our website. That's under Services Police Transparency. It's not just going to be the annual report. You'll also find the use of force and the pursuit policy review for those years. Questions?
Anybody have
Just a
questions,
comment.
comments?
You did an outstanding job in putting together the report and changing the format of it. And I can really tell you put a lot of thought into it. And so congratulations. It represents the department and the township
Thank you.
extremely well.
Yeah, I found it much more interesting to go through the pictures, the color, to read. I mean, I'm an advertising background, right? So you don't want all text. It looked great. It read great, and we really appreciate all you do.
Yeah, it's always a tough one with the annual report because you do have to get the important numbers out there. In past years, different board members wanted different things, and some were graph-oriented and number-oriented, so I try and appease you guys and our residents, but we still have to have the numbers in there. But it's hard to paint the full picture of what we do here because it changes so much day to day. And I had a great conversation with Clerk Brooke about, it's not always running and gunning and arresting people. It's a lot of service-oriented policing that we do, and we want to highlight that.
Especially since we love the numbers and everything, but you humanized it. When you put the pictures of somebody, it's not just an award, it's the person behind it. So, and you're a wonderful dad to Maggie.
Thank you. we had a tough year, so.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So next we have, you're still there, consider approval of the Youth Academy interlocal agreement, again with Officer Nick Soley.
Yeah, so that leads me right into what we do for our community. This year I was approached by Auburn Hills Police Department. They have ran just a youth academy in the past years, and they had a problem with attendance. They've only had about 6 to 7 attendees. It's a very large program. So they came to me. I went to Chief Gallagher. They also went to Birmingham and the city of Rochester and said, let's do a regional one. And I said, only if Bloomfield can host it, because my name's going to be on it. And they said, no problem. So we will be hosting, with your approval, a regional youth academy. That's for our teens, ages really 14 up to 18, but 17 high school age, where they'll learn not only the basics of policing, but they'll learn that we are human. They'll learn how to interact with the police, why we do what we do. We're going to have a lot of fun with them, whether it be over at the court or some scenario days that we're going to have. It came about that Birmingham asked that we come up with a interlocal agreement for this, so I'm asking the board for permission to have, I believe, the chief sign that interlocal agreement so we can not only partake but host this regional youth academy. It will take place June 26th through June 30th right here on our campus.
Anybody have any questions?
Is there a cost to this?
There's no cost.
To the students?
There's no cost to the students. Right now, I see no cost to Bloomfield Township. That may change, but it will be very minimal. Auburn Hills has been fortunate that they've been doing this for years, and they take in donations for the support of this program. So Auburn Hills has agreed to cover the shirts that will be provided. I have a number of community and just outside of our community restaurants that have seen our posts and said we want to provide lunch. Everything else will be, handled by Auburn Hills. I believe there will be maybe a little bit of overtime for our instructors, but that would be it. Okay. Very minimum.
Do you have a number that you can host, or are you full?
We're not full at this time. We're looking for a maximum of about 20. 20 teenagers is a lot, but we will have representatives. It's in the agreement that a representative from each department will be here each day, and we have a lot of volunteers. When our officers heard about this, like, this is the stuff that they love to do, and they're like, we want in, what can we do? How can we help? Here's my specialty. So
When I saw your post, I shared it because, as a former education person, is there an opportunity where board members, if they can come by and see,
absolutely, we would love that. And
help
once
volunteer? Let me
I
know.
have a meeting tomorrow, and once we get the schedule locked down on where we'll be and what we'll be doing, I'll let you know so you guys can stop by and not only say hi, but maybe give them some words of encouragement.
Sure, thank you.
I haven't heard the word volunteer come out there, too. Yeah, she'll help.
I will volunteer.
Thank you. Anybody, if there's no questions, the only difference is we actually have to have the mayors and supervisors sign it.
Okay, my
That's the
apology.
only other difference, but if there's no changes, then I'd look for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by trustee
Support.
Barnett, support by trustee Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That does pass.
Thank you, board.
Thanks,
I'm
Nick.
excited for
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
Idea.
Thank you, guys. All right, and you gotta pick on your friends there, though. None of them stayed for the annual report.
Yeah, no support
Right?
there.
I think they
No,
were all-
our guys
Oh.
even, and ladies.
They said-
They
were
just
all-
need,
well, Carrie set up a beautiful photo shot downstairs. They all were going down to take, you should see our roll call room.
oh, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
So next we have considering the approval of a transfer to commit up to $6 million to the Equipment and Replacement Fund, and we have Director Jason Tice.
So there was a memo, I don't have a presentation, but if you recall, back in February, at that time, tried to project out what I thought would be enough funds to be approved to go to the Equipment and Replacement Fund. Healthcare came in a lot better than projected. We had double-digit savings all 12 months of the fiscal year. There were some vacancies that drove that number. Investment earnings, the last couple of months did really well there. We're over 300% over budget on investment earnings. Salt use got finalized, and that came in under budget, about 74% of budget. EMS transport fees were 117% of budget. So there's multiple things across general fund, road, and public safety that all contributed to this. But we're getting closer to finalizing last fiscal year, March 31. And so I'm a lot more accurate data and a lot more comfortable now that these are the final numbers. So instead of needing or requesting $5 million to go into the Equipment and Replacement Fund, I'm requesting board approval to transfer and commit up to $6 million to the Equipment and Replacement Fund for fiscal year 22-23.
Are there any questions? I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and commit up to $6 million to the Equipment and Reserve Fund for fiscal year March 31st, 2023.
Motion by Treasurer
Support.
Keeps. Support by Trustee Shostak. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does pass. Thank you.
Did you want me to address public comment?
So I would have, but sometimes people never stay after they kind of make some salacious comment. So I guess in case they're listening, though, I would love for others to hear, because I know it can be confusing when people don't have the right backgrounds to,
Want to hear the
really
truth?
read into it. Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and talk
Just
about
real
the
quick,
OPEB.
the report that I prepared, the quarterly financial report, on the first page, the very last sentence of the first paragraph states, these are not the final numbers for the fiscal year. There continues to be activities posted to the 3/31/23 fiscal year. And then below in the next couple paragraphs, I state that the annual transfers out to the funds have not occurred yet. At the time of this publication, they have since, now that I'm getting closer, those transfers would obviously be made. Thank you.
Obviously. And of course, each department has different types of employees, different ages, there's a lot that goes into numbers that somebody like yourself who has been educated on it can follow it better. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason.
All right. So next we have considering the approval of the reappointments of our Board of Review team. And we have Director Darren Kratz. And apparently, we've all been pronouncing his name wrong, and he's been too kind to tell us that. It is not Darren Kratz, it is Darren Kratz.
It's been pronounced wrong my entire life, and so I've just become accustomed
changing
to
it.
it being Kratz.
But you are not. You are Kratz, so.
So, man, what a presentation by the police department.
Right?
That was pretty
Yeah.
impressive stuff. But I'm here again tonight to ask for the board's approval to reappoint 3 of our current board members, Christopher Kalinsky, who's in the audience, Bob Taylor, and Farhad Wakad. Bob has been on our board since 2006. Farhad's been on it since 2008, and Chris has been on it since 2020. A couple months ago, we appointed some alternate board members to the Board of Review for fear that we had, some illness or vacations or something like that scheduled. So this year, Bob had some appointments that he had to make, so he couldn't be at the board I think it was a day anyway. And Chris stepped up and became our chairman for this year. And as like always, everything ran just smoothly. Chris has been a very big asset to our Board of Review, and kind of as we planned, has kind of worked his way up from just being on the board, learning the ropes, to chairing our Board of Review. Chris did a fantastic job, as well as the rest of the board members. And because Bob was out this year, we had to slide up one of our alternate board members, and they worked out very, very well this year as well. I don't have a presentation other than just the memo to Supervisor Walsh. But if you want, we can certainly provide you resumes and all that kind of stuff individually for the 3 board members. So with that, I would just ask for the board to, I guess, questions, comments, anything like that first. But if not, I would ask for the board to be reappointed.
After sitting and serving on the Tax Review Board, I've had the opportunity to sit and listen to residents and taxpayers' challenges. And sometimes people can be a little feisty. Sometimes they can be apprehensive. Sometimes they can be a little nervous. And I think the board really needs to respond to each taxpayer in terms of how best to work with them. And I'm very comfortable that each of the 3, both Bob, Farhad, and Chris, each handle each situation diplomatically, tactfully, appropriately, professionally, and really, quite frankly, make me proud that they're there. And I'm happy to support and to make a motion for their reappointment.
And I can tell you the one thing that I can tell you from just watching these guys operate, because they are the Board of Review. They run the meetings. I can tell you that there are very, very few residents that leave one of their hearings, feeling like they've not been heard or understood or blown off, I guess, for lack of a better term. If there's something that they can't answer, they send them in to talk to us. I can tell you that this is, and I've always said this about our board, we have one of the best boards of review in the entire state. No doubt about it. No doubt.
I'd be happy to support the motion.
Great. So motion by Treasurer Keefe, support by Trustee Barnett. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That does
Thank you, guys.
pass. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
So next we have approving the payroll and vouchers. Unless there's any changes, I'd look for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Shostak.
Support.
Support by Trustee Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that passes, and we have our final motion.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Clerk Brooke.
Support.
Support by Trustee Murray. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks.